Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Sequingeli Creates. Today's episode is a sewing catch-up, but a little bit of a different one. So if you're used to me creating lots of jersey things and whipping out a good few in a go, then this is something different. This is part of my intentions for the year, with my word being intentional, and this is part of where I talked about that difference between the quick wins and the more involved makes. So let's get on with what I've been up to. So everyone, I have recently been to the Southern Social. It was on Sunday, and so I'm just turning some lights on because the sun is playing havoc with our lighting in here today. So went to the Southern Social, and the days building up to that, I often think, what am I going to sew? What do I want to sew? You used to get quite tense, think about making sure I cut everything out. Sometimes now I'll be like, I'll just cut out there. But this time I nearly fell into the trap of cutting out for myself some more jersey trousers and things to cut out. Now, while that is not a bad thing per se, because I wear them, I enjoy them, I was like, hang on a minute. You have got some things cut out. Do you really need to cut anything else out? So I had a little chat with myself, and I realised that I had a couple of hard things cut out that I've been putting off. One of them had been in a bag for 6 months at least, and the other one for a good few months. So I was like, no, come on, you can do this. You're in a good cognitive place. Let's do some hard things. So I stopped myself. I put the fabric away that I'd got out to cut out. I went into the room and got the things out, made sure I'd got the instructions. I actually printed the instructions out of the one that I didn't have, because I thought, no, I'm going to want to read this properly, not just on my phone, but I might need to talk to someone, use a bit of hive mind while I'm there. And I was like, no, I'm going to do hard things. And I actually announced it to my family, almost in a way to make myself feel accountable. So what I'm going to show you today are not finished items, but I want to show you the process and also what I did do and what I'm going to do. So let's start with what I did first. Now this is a pattern called the Judy, and it's by Notches, which I think are a pattern coming from the Netherlands. I could be wrong. I'm sorry if I am. But I have mentioned several of their patterns, including one in my plans, which is the lovely Moriko, which is like a crossover one. I generally really like the design of their patterns. If nothing else, you get bang for your buck. You get a lot of choice. So the Judy, which I'll put up here while I'm talking, has a huge amount of variation, from a top with lots of sleeve variations to a separate skirt to a top and skirt combined together. And I feel that as a pattern company, they're really making sure that you as the customer really benefit from what you purchase from them. Now I'll tell you why I've been putting this off, because when I cut it out, I did enjoy cutting out the very odd pieces because they made me curious. But let's just get one out for a minute. So this is the bottom part of the front bottom of the pattern piece, and it includes another part that attaches onto it. So you do need a good width of fabric or length. That's just, you have to cut 2 of those, and then here comes the very odd bit, 2 of these. I can't even get it on the screen, right? And that folds up a bit further, and there was this very odd flippy flappy bit here. Now I'm very grateful to past me when I cut this out, because I was very careful in my cutting. I'd done most of the notches, but what's critical to understand is this pattern piece actually goes this way up, and that is labelled as the front top. Now when they refer to it in the pattern instructions, they actually refer to it as the front upper. Now I wonder if that's a language translation thing. So it's not front top, it's front upper, and I'm actually going to write that on there for myself. So The back piece is pretty simple, particularly compared to all of that. See if I can show it to you. Just that cut on the fold. Yes. So the reason I've been putting it off is because I really struggle with patterns where I can't imagine how the pieces will work together. And I've sewn a lot of patterns now, so I am really used to picturing how pieces to go together and enjoying the variation. Excuse me. But with this pattern, I couldn't picture it. And I found that tricky. And as Christine and Mary both say to me, follow the process. But when I'm at home on my own, sometimes I struggle with that because there's no one for me to go, what? To, and to keep me going. So I realised that actually the Southern Social was the right place to do it, because it meant that I could just turn to someone else and go, what do you think? And people go, yes, you've got that bit. And just that little like bit of motivation to keep going. Well, now I've made it, I can picture it, which means if I make it again, which I'm likely to do, I understand how it works. So it is one of those patterns where I would highly recommend not using, for your first go at least, a fabric that is the same on the front and the back. You really want to know easily what is the back of the fabric. You could get a bit lost when you're making it, because there are times when you're like, what's the side, what's the front, what's the back? You're being told to fold a piece up and you're like, whoa, and it can feel scary. But actually, once you get going on it, it didn't take me the whole day. It wasn't as involved as I thought. So if I hold it up, not on me, you can see the wrappy bits dangling down there. There they are. There's one there and one there. I'm going to keep over because I'll put a video in of me now. Now it isn't finished, and Mary looked over me at one point, see I hadn't finished the edges, and I was like, Mary, I'm not finishing the edges if I'm not going to like this. This is first go. Now this is a nice fabric, but I wasn't in love with it. I think it is a Lady McElroy. I bought it from Minerva and like a pattern end or whatever. It does have a front back neck facing and a really interesting way of stopping it flipping out when you sew it on. So you do need to make sure you follow the steps. Things I like that the wrap is integrated into the top, so there's no gapage at the front. Things I don't like is how short the top has come out, and I've looked at the pictures. It is meant to be that short, but I am not in a phase in my life where I want my belly button showing. It's just not where I'm at. So I'm going to need to make some modifications. The back is much shorter than the front, and it does get hidden by the wrap. But even so, I want to feel comfortable. That's the back side. The front has sort of a point. Let me just get this out of the way. It's very hard to show. Has a point at the front here. Where is it? Has a point at the front, which I can't see in the pictures, which unless I tuck it in my top, and I'll show you in the video here, does poke out below the wrap. Now I have searched Instagram and YouTube for reviews, can't find any full-on reviews, so when I finish this I will film a full-on recommended reviews bit of mini sew along, but what I did see is most people made the dress, and I can see why, because then you don't have any of this issue, but you have the lovely wrap bit and it looks really nice as a dress. So I am thinking for my next go I will make the dress version, but I think that this top is rescuable. Slightly worried what I did with the leftovers of this, because I cut this out pre the big turnout. Worst case, it's going to be a bit of black binding or something. I saw someone did bind the bottom of theirs, so I think it's nice. I like it. I like where the V comes on me. I like the way the wrap is integrated and looks. I had a little bit of a challenge with this point here where a lot of things meet, and at one point I had a hole there. I fixed it, and luckily when you're wearing it, that's all hidden into the wrapping. I had a very odd situation on the side, and I'm still not sure. And I did go a little rogue at the end and stitch 2 bits together that perhaps I shouldn't have done. So I'm going to go back to that bit. But again, if you had the dress, that wouldn't be an issue, because the back is hanging that much longer than the front. And I do not want the back any shorter, but what's happening here? Yeah. So yeah, I sewed a hard thing. I was proud of myself. It's not 100% amazing because it needs work, but I like it. I'm going to go there again, as you say. I would definitely go back to the pattern. I think, as I say, I'm going to make the dress version next time because I think I won't have that weird issue there. It's going to use a lot of fabric though because of these long pieces, because you know they're double-sided. The quality of the finish and the idea is brilliant. How your brain would conceive of creating something like that is amazing, but it's not like I've done it, now I can wear it. And even if I'd finished the edges inside, I'd still have that issue around the bottom. But I will keep you updated and I will go there again. So then the other thing I did, because that didn't take up the whole day, and luckily I did take something else, was another hard thing. And that was the springe jumpsuit. Now, it wasn't that the instructions were hard on this. What I knew was probably going to be hard was getting this to fit me, because I have a very short distance here. I have a very narrow shoulder and a bigger bust for my narrowness, and I have to grade out at my waist, and sometimes my waist needs to be higher than others, and it's a zip all the way down the back. So I was like, I'm not cutting the rest out until I've cut the top out and tried the top. And I was very curious by the finished measurements. Now if you want a really detailed chat about this one, Chrissy and I did really chat about it. I will link that video below. But I was suspicious because the measurements put me in a D for the bust and an E for the waist, and the finish measurement for the bust was with 6 inches of ease, and I was like, what? Even with that gathering, where is that? What is it? Because it's like a grown on sleeve. So anyway, I was like, I'll go with it, I'll sew it, I'll just baste the back together without the zip. So once I'd done that, and as I say, the instructions were fairly straightforward. I'd forgotten to cut out the back front facing, so I had to grab a bit of the swaps table. I mean, the instructions are fairly clear. Not really very happy about the original V point, and I actually spoke to someone who'd made it, and she said she'd had to go rogue on the finish at that top bit as well. She'd actually made a size down and then done a full bust adjustment. I was like, how on earth do you do that on a piece like this with all of this gathering along the bust here? So when I put it on, it was quite obviously too big. The V was too low, which is not uncommon for me. It did fit at the waist. The curve was under my bust, but as you can see, I was then set to by pins by lovely people at the social, and they really felt it was that much too much on my shoulder, which is not uncommon for me. My advice, if you've got a petite frame, if something's not fitting you, oik it up at the shoulders first, and suddenly it's like magic sometimes. But of course that brought the V up, but then it brought the bust line up so it was on my bust rather than under. So there was a lot of discussion about that. And then there was too much fabric here, so we pinned all the way across here, and then we ended up in a debate because I thought we only needed to remove it from by my chest plate, and Mary thought we should remove it all the way across. And I said if we only did it from my chest plate, we could do like a slash and an overlap. If we did it all the way across, it would oik everything up. I'll put a picture in here. So I'm in two minds. Do I put it in the naughty corner, or do actually I cut the top pieces out of a C and grade out still to an E at the waist? possibly then needing to make a full bust, but looking at all this spare, maybe not. Have you made the So Love Patterns springe? Now, I think there are more videos out there on this, but I didn't look yet, because this is one of those things where actually I was discussing this with a lady at the social after, because I stopped after that. I was like, okay, I'm done now. And sometimes it's nice to do hard things and get a really good fit, because you'll wear it and enjoy it. And like those with the trousers, I've really enjoyed getting the right fit because I wear the trousers so much. But with a jumpsuit like this, the question is, how often and when will I wear it? So although there is a benefit to like the brain exercise of doing it and the achievement of getting a good fit, have I got somewhere I'm going to wear it? Will I have somewhere to wear it? Or am I going to go through all of this and then it's just going to sit in my wardrobe? But is it worth the pursuit to learn skills? It's like, ooh, 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 ooh. And so, have I got other jumpsuits that might work better? Oh, do I? And then I said, what if I sewed it in a jersey? Because we were both in agreement that you just don't have this problem with jersey, do you? Now, I think it might be tricky with jersey for pulling up and over because of the top of the neck. But it does have like a gape at the neck with a button that I could do, and I wouldn't need the zip. So I have many thoughts here on what to do, but I'm definitely not making the trouser part until I have done. And this is why I know many of us are not fans of toiles, but this is sometimes why a toile is such an important thing. Because if I'd gone ahead and cut the whole thing out, now I know that the trousers will pull this down a bit, which will help keep this part where I want it, because the weight of the fabric will do that. But if I'd cut the whole thing out, I would have been super disappointed when I then put it on and realised that the bodice was not right. So sometimes just toiling a bodice, and that's why I didn't get upset that I'd forgotten to cut some pieces out, because ultimately if I love it, I can cut them out of the right thing later. And as I say, I'm not putting a zip in when I don't even know if this is right. So this is a plea to sometimes think about the fact that you do need to toile. And I got the twitch when I looked at the finished bust measurements versus the recommended size. It was making me twitch, and that's what made me go, I'm just doing the bodice first. So I will again on this one report back. So I'm glad I did hard things, but this is the difference of doing hard things and things that I know I will win at, is I haven't got over a 6-hour sewing period, I haven't got a finished item. But changing my mindset to this learning, I want to show you a fabric I picked up on the swaps table. Is this one of the Crafty Pie fabrics? Does anyone know? It's very gorgeous. I don't think it's got, has it got an edge? Because normally if it's got an edging it tells you that. It's very silky, but like almost like duvet cover weight. I don't know, but I loved it and I picked it up anyway. So there we go. But if you know, do let me know. So the question is, what next? Well, what next is something that I'm much more likely to have success with. It's the Vista Top by Twig and Towel. I'm putting it here. This is the one where I've got all the sleeve patterns. So I'm going to make it straight out the pack, right size, and I'm going to make it in this fabric here. I might not be able to get the full sleeve out. I bought this in Folkestone at Miss Ginger's. It's got a nice drape to it, and I'll just make whatever sleeves I can, and then I'm going to go from there. Once I get the fit, it's not going to be a big fit challenge like these two. I am already thinking what to make my dress version of the Judy Notches Judy pattern out of, because I think it's a really lovely pattern. So I will report back on that, but I'm going to need another day where I've just got time to think, and you need space to lay and fold. And that's one of the other things, is the space I have is, there's room for my machine, but there's not like a big flat space. So when I'm doing something like that, I do need a big flat space next to me, which I don't have in my sewing room. Interesting reflection. I wonder if that's why I put those things on. So to end today's episode, I want to tell you, this is more about my intentional, not let's say hard things, but do things. I decided, alongside my mate 9, which is for my whole year, I am going to keep up with this sort of vision of being intentional by making myself a weekly bingo grid. Now, I've made one for this week. I'm going to do Wednesday to Wednesday, and then I'll just see how I go, whether it's the same every week or I want to change it. So it looks like this, and I have got so, and I've left as way, so because this is where I want to be the right, okay, this is where I want to do something hard, so it might be like so second version of the notches pattern or something. So then I've got complete 2 sessions with weights. I am a menopausal woman. The most important thing right now is to keep my core strength, and I've read a lot about this. I've got weights here. I bought them during lockdown. I need to do a bit with them to keep building my core strength. I've done it before, I can do it. So 2 sessions, I'm not specifying how long or anything like that. Then I've got here, learn something new about my overlocker. That is on my Make 9. I will share with you what I learn. Then I've got complete complete a 10-minute yoga session 3 times in the week. I can feel the hunching and the scrunching. I've always loved yoga. I used to do it a lot. This is getting me back into it. Complete 1 hour of the My Handmade Wardrobe Be Your Own Designer session that she's got. Read 10 pages of a book twice. Right, now this is where I'm going to have things like write a sewing pattern review, write a newsletter, write a Substack. I'm thinking about another way to interact with yourselves. So that's part of that, being intentional. Do a walking challenge twice a week. There's some great YouTube videos, because when I don't want to go outside, I don't want to get cold, but I can do it. I can walk in my sitting room for 10 minutes. And try a new sleeve type. So that's off my Make 9 as well. So the whole idea is that I don't need to get a full house, but let's see if I can get some rows and things like that. I might have to think what my reward is once I'm done. But this is my bingo sheet, and I'll just keep you updated with how that's going. It's all part of this being intentional. And like reading, I find really relaxing. Walking is a good form of relaxation. So these are all about being intentional with my time. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you are all well. Today I am wearing my Marlene sweatshirt with the Tilling the Buttons Freya underneath. I'm going for all the autumnal tones today. I know we're in winter, but still. And I actually have on these sapphire frills toadstool earrings, which I bought in the Sow in like a mystery box. So I will see you soon. My next episode is definitely everything I made in 2024. I've made lists, I've made photos. I can't wait to share it with you. And then I'll be back to update you on how I'm doing with the sewing things, the bingo, all of that sort of thing. So how do you hold yourself accountable? I would love to know. And what do you want to do with your sewing this year? Are you like me, trying to learn new things, trying to sew certain things? Are you going with the flow, trying to be more spontaneous, trying to be less hard on yourself? What is it? Let me know. And also let me know if you've ever made the springe jumpsuit or seen a good tutorial, or the notches pattern. Can't find much on that at all. Catch you again soon. Bye.